This is a reading from the poem of the Man God by Maria Valtorta, Volume 4, Episode 462. In Chuza's country house, the tempting proposal made to Jesus and made known by the disciple Jesus loved. 30th of July, 1946. On the other shore, at the end of the bridge, a covered wagon is already waiting. Get in, master. You will not get tired, although the journey is a long one, because I gave instructions to have yokes of oxen here all the time, in order not to give offense to guests more observant of the law. They are to be pitied. But where are they? They have preceded us in other wagons. Tobit! Master, says the driver who is yoking the oxen, where are the other guests? Oh, far ahead. They must almost be at the house. Do you hear that, master? And if I had not come? Oh, we were certain that you would come. Why should you not have come? Because, Chuza, I have come to prove to you that I am not a coward. Only wicked people are cowardly, those who are at fault and consequently are afraid of justice, of the justice of men, unfortunately, whereas they ought to be afraid, first of all, of the only one, of God's justice. But I am not in the wrong, and I am not afraid of men. But, Lord, all those who are with me revere you, as I do, and there is no reason whatsoever why we should frighten you. We want to honor you, not to insult you. Chuza is grieved and almost angry. Jesus, who is sitting in front of him while the wagon proceeds slowly, creaking amidst the green countryside, replies, Rather than the open war of enemies, I must fear the underhand one of false friends, or the unjust zeal of true friends who have not yet understood me. And you are one of them. Do you not remember what I said at Bether? I have understood you, Lord, whispers Chuza, but he is not very sure of himself, and does not answer the question directly. Yes, you have understood me. During the wave of sorrow and joy, your heart had become as clear as the sky, with a rainbow after a storm. And you saw things in a just manner. Then, turn round, Chuza, and look at our Sea of Galilee. It looked so limpid at dawn. During the night the dew had cleansed the atmosphere, and the cold air had mitigated the evaporation of the waters. Sky and lake were two sheets of clear sapphire, reflecting their respective beauties, and the hills all around were fresh and clean, as if God had created them during the night. Look now, the dust of the coastal roads, trodden by people and animals, the heat of the sun, which makes woods and gardens steam like boilers on a hearth, and inflames the lake, making its water evaporate. Look how they have disturbed the view. The shores previously looked close at hand, so neat they were in the very clear air. But look now, they look dimmed, blurred, and seem to be trembling like objects seen through a veil of impure water. The same has happened to you. Dust, humanity, sun, pride. Chuza, do not upset yourself. Chuza lowers his head, toying mechanically with the ornaments of his robe and with the buckle of the rich sword belt. Jesus is silent, with his eyes almost closed, as if he were sleepy. Chuza respects his sleep, or what he thinks is such. The wagon proceeds slowly southeastwards towards the light undulations which form, at least I think so, the first terraces of the tableland that circumscribes the Jordan Valley on this eastern side. The country is fertile and beautiful owing to the abundance of underground waters, or to some stream. Grapes and fruit are hanging on every tree. The wagon leaves the main road and takes a private one, entering an avenue thick with trees, under which is shade and cool air, at least relatively cool, as compared with the sunny main road, which is like a furnace. A low, white, magnificent-looking house is at the end of the avenue. More modest houses are scattered here and there in the fields and vineyards. The wagon crosses a little bridge and a borderline, beyond which the orchard changes into a garden with an avenue strewn with pebbles. Jesus opens his eyes at the different noise of the wheels on the pebbles. We have arrived, master. Here are the guests who have heard us and are now coming, says Chuza. And in fact, many men, all well off, crowd at the beginning of the avenue with the ostentatious bows, greet the master who is arriving. I see and recognize Manaen, Timaeus, Eleazar, and I think I can see other people who are not new to me, but whose names I do not know. And there are many more whom I have never seen, or at least I have never noticed them particularly. Many are wearing swords. Others, in the place of swords, display the plentiful Pharisaic and priestly or rabbinical furbelows. The wagon stops, and Jesus is the first to get off, bowing in a collective greeting. The disciples Manaen and Timaeus move forward and exchange personal greetings with the Master. Then Eleazar, the good Pharisee at the banquet of Ishmael's house, comes forward with two scribes who push through the crowd to make themselves known. One is the man whose son was cured at Tarichaea on the day of the first multiplication of loaves, and the other offered food to everybody at the foot of the mountain of Beatitudes. And another man pushes his way through, the Pharisee who in Joseph's house at harvest time was instructed by Jesus on the real reason for his unjust jealousy. Chuza proceeds with introductions which I will omit for the benefit of everybody, because one would lose one's head with all the Simons, Johns, Levis, Eleazars, Nathaniels, Josephs, Philips, and so forth, Sadducees, scribes, priests, Herodians mostly. Nay, I would say that the Herodians are the most numerous. A few proselytes and Pharisees, 2 members of the Sanhedrin, and 4 heads of synagogues, and 1 Essene, who got in there I know not how. Jesus bows at each name, casting a sharp glance at each face, and at times smiling gently when someone, to be more clearly identified, mentions the circumstances of a previous contact with Jesus. Thus, a Joachim from Bosra says, "My wife Mary was cured by you of leprosy. May you be blessed." And the Essene says, "I heard you when you spoke near Jericho, and one of our brothers left the shores of the Salt Sea to follow you. And I also heard of you with regard to the miracle for Elisha of En-Gedi. We also live in that part of the country, awaiting." What they are awaiting I do not know, but I know that while saying so, the Essene looks like a rather elated superior air at the others, who certainly do not pose as mystics, as most of them seem to enjoy merrily the wealth which their position afford them. Chuza takes his guest away from the ceremonial greetings and leads him to a comfortable bathroom, where he leaves him to the customary ablutions, certainly pleasing in so much heat, and he goes back to his guests, with whom he talks animatedly. In fact, they almost come to an altercation because of their different opinions. Some want to start the conversation at once, which some instead suggest that the Master should not be assailed immediately, but that he should be persuaded beforehand of their deep respect. The latter suggestion prevails, as it is supported by the majority, and to Chuza. The landlord calls some servants to order a banquet for the evening, leaving time to Jesus, who is tired, as everybody can see, to rest. This decision is accepted by everybody, and in fact, when Jesus appears, all the guests take their leave, bowing low, leaving him with Chuza to take him to a shady room, where there is a low couch covered with rich rugs. But Jesus, who has been left all alone after he handed a servant his sandals and tunic, so that they might be brushed and tidied after the journey of the previous day, does not sleep. Sitting on the edge of the couch, his bare feet on the floor mat, a short tunic or vest covering his body as far as his elbows and knees, he is engrossed in thought. And if his scanty attire makes him look younger in the splendid, perfect harmony of his virile body, the intensity of his thoughts, which are certainly not joyful, wrinkle and contract his face in a painful expression of tiredness, which makes him look older. There is no noise in the house, and there is nobody in the country, where the grapes are ripening in the oppressive heat. The dark curtains hanging at doors and windows are motionless. Hours pass thus. Twilight increases as the sun sets, but the heat persists, and Jesus' meditation persists as well. At last, the house appears to be awaking. One can hear voices, shuffling of feet, orders. Chuza slowly moves the curtain aside to see without disturbing. "Come in, I am not sleeping," says Jesus. Chuza goes in. He is already wearing a trimmed robe for the banquet. He looks and realizes that the couch shows no signs that anyone has lain on it. "Have you not slept? Why? You are tired." "I have rested in the silence and the shade. It is enough for me." "I will have a tunic brought to you." "No, mine is certainly dry. I prefer it. I intend to leave as soon as the banquet is over. I beg you to have a wagon and boat ready for me." "As you wish, Lord. I would have liked to keep you here until dawn tomorrow." "I cannot. I must go." Chuza goes out bowing. I can hear many people talk in low voices. More time passes. The servant comes back with the linen garment, which has just been washed, sweet smelling of sunshine, and with the sandals which have been brushed and softened with oil or fat, and are thus shiny and flexible. Another servant follows him with a basin, an amphora, and some towels, and he leaves everything on a low table. they go out. Jesus joins the guests in the hall that divides the house from north to south, forming a pleasantly ventilated room, provided with seats and adorned with light, variegated curtains, which modify the light without interfering with the air. As they are now drawn, one can see the green border surrounding the house. Jesus is imposing. Although he has not slept, he seems to be full of energy, and his gait is as majestic as a king's. The linen garment which he has put on is snow white, and his hair, bright after the bath in the morning, shines gently, framing his face with its golden hue. "Come, master, we are waiting for you only," says Chuza, and leads him before everybody into the room where the tables are laid. They sit down after the thanksgiving prayer and a supplementary ablution of hands, and dinner begins, as pompous as usual, in silence at first. Then the ice is broken. Jesus is near Chuza, and Manaen is on the other side with Timaeus as companion. The others have been placed by Chuza with the experience of a courtier on the sides of the U-shaped table. The Essene only has obstinately refused to take part in the banquet and sit at the table with the others, and only when a servant, on instructions from Chuza, offers him a precious basket full of fruit, he agrees to sit at a low table, after I do not know how many ablutions, and after rolling up the wide sleeves of his white tunic, lest he should stain them, or for some rite, I do not know. It is a strange banquet, as they communicate with one another by means of glances rather than by words. They only exchange few words of courtesy and scrutinize one another. That is, Jesus studies his fellow guests and is studied by them. At the end, Chuza beckons to the servants to withdraw after laying on the table large trays of fruit, which is fresh and cool, having probably been kept in a well, and is really beautiful. I would say that it is almost frozen, as it is covered with that kind of hoarfrost that is typical of fruit kept in ice boxes. The servants go out after lighting also the lamps, which are at present not required, as it is still clear in the long summer sunset. "Master," begins Chuza, "you must have wondered why we held this meeting, and why we have been so silent. But what we have to tell you is very grave, and it is not to be heard by imprudent ears. We are now alone, and we can speak. As you can see, all the people present have the greatest respect for you. You are among men who venerate you as man and as Messiah. Your justice, your wisdom, the gifts of which God has made you master, are known and admired by us. You are for us the Messiah of Israel, Messiah according to the spiritual idea, and the political one. You are the expected one who will put an end to the grief and dejection of a whole population, and not only of this people within the borders of the population, and Israel, or rather of Palestine, but of the people of all Israel, of the countless colonies of the diaspora spread all over the earth, which make the name of Jehovah resound under every sky, and make known the promises and hopes which are now being fulfilled, of a restorer, Messiah, of a revenger, of a liberator, and creator of true independence, and of the fatherland Israel, that is, of the greatest fatherland in the world, the fatherland, queen and ruler, which will cancel all remembrance of the past and every existing sign of servitude. Hebraism, triumphing over everybody and everything and forever, because that was said and that is being accomplished. Lord, you have here before you all Israel in the representatives of the several classes of this eternal people, punished but beloved by the Most High, who proclaims it his. You have the pulsating, wholesome heart of Israel with the members of the Sanhedrin and the priests. You have power and holiness with Pharisees and Sadducees. You have wisdom with scribes and rabbis. You have politics and value with Herodians. You have wealth with rich people, the population with merchants and landowners. You have the diaspora with proselytes. You have even those who are separated, as they are now inclined to become united, since they see in you the expected one, the Essenes, the unreachable Essenes. Look, O Lord, at this first wonder, at this great sign of your mission, of the truth concerning you. Without violence, without means, without ministers, without troops, without swords, you are gathering together all your people, as a reservoir collects the waters of countless springs. Almost without any word, without whatever imposition, you have gathered us, a people divided by misfortunes, by hatred, by political and religious ideas, and you have reconciled us, O Prince of Peace. Rejoice at having redeemed and restored, even before assuming scepter and crown. Your kingdom, the expected kingdom of Israel, has begun. Our health, our wealth, our power, our swords are at your feet. Speak, order, the hour has come." Everybody approves of Chuza's speech. Jesus, his arms folded on his chest, is silent. "Are you not speaking? Are you not replying, Lord? You are perhaps amazed at the situation. Perhaps you feel unprepared, and you doubt above all whether Israel is prepared. But it is not so. Listen to our voices. I am speaking, and Manaen with me. With regard to the court, it no longer deserves to exist. It is the rotten disgrace of Israel. It is shameful tyranny which oppresses the people and stoops servilely to flatter the usurper. Its hour has come. Rise, O Star of Jacob, and dispel the darkness of that chorus of crimes and shame. Here are present those who are called Herodians. They are the enemies of the profaners, of the name of Herods, which is sacred to them. My friends, it is for you to speak now." "Master, I am old, and I remember the splendor of days gone by. To call the degenerate descendants of Herod after him is like calling a stinking carrion a hero, so much are they disgracing our people. It is time to repeat the gesture that made several times by Israel when unworthy monarchs reigned over the suffering people. You alone are worthy of accomplishing such gesture." Jesus is silent. "Master, do you think that we can possibly be doubtful? We have scrutinized the scriptures. You are the promised one. You must reign," says a scribe. "You must be king and priest, a second Nehemiah, greater than the first one. You must come and purify. The altar is desecrated. May the zeal of the Most High urge you," says a priest. "Many of us have fought against you, those who are afraid of your wise manner of reigning, but the people is with you, and the best of us are with the people. We are in need of a wise man. We need a pure man, a true king, a saint, a redeemer. We are more and more enslaved to everything and to everybody. Defend us, Lord. We are trodden down in the world because although we are great in number and wealth, we are like sheep without a shepherd. Rally your people with the old cry, 'Return to your tents, Israel.' And from every spot of the diaspora your subjects will spring up like a lever, overthrowing the tottering thrones of the mighty ones who are not loved by God." Jesus is still silent. He is the only one to be sitting calmly, as if the matter did not concern him, in the middle of about 40 hot-headed men, of whose arguments I can grasp only a tiny part, as they are all speaking at the same time, making a terrible din. He maintains his attitude and remains silent. They all shout, "Say a word! Answer!" Jesus stands up slowly, pushing his hands on the edge of the table. There is dead silence, while 80 eyes, aflame with curiosity, stare at him. He opens his lips, and the others do likewise, as if they wanted to inhale his reply, and the reply is short, but resolute. "No." "What? Why? Are you betraying us? You are betraying your people. He is disowning his mission. He is repudiating God's order." What a hullabaloo! What an uproar! Many faces become crimson while eyes are inflamed, and hands are agitated threateningly. Rather than loyal supporters, they look like enemies. But such is life, when hearts are dominated by political ideas. Also, meek people become like wild animals against anyone opposing their ideas. A strange silence follows the uproar. It looks as if, having exhausted their strength, they all feel worn out and overwhelmed. They look at one another inquisitively, desolately. Some are upset. Jesus looks round and says, "I knew that this was the reason why you wanted me, and I knew that your attempt was useless. Chuza can confirm that I told him at Tarichaea, I came to prove to you that I am not afraid of any deceit, because my hour has not yet come. Neither will I be afraid when the ambush against me takes place, because I came just for that, and I came to convince you. Not everybody, but many of you are in good faith, but I must correct the error into which you have fallen in good faith. See, I do not reproach you. I do not reproach anybody, not even those who, being my faithful disciples, ought to act with justice and control their passions with justice. I do not reproach you, my just Timaeus, but I tell you that at the bottom of your love that is anxious to honor me, there is still your ego that is excited and dreams of better days, when you may see those struck who struck you. I do not reproach you, Manaen, although you appear to have forgotten the wisdom and the completely spiritual examples you had from me and from the Baptist before me. But I say that in you as well there is a root of humanity which flourishes again after the ardor of my love. I do not reproach you, Eleazar, so just, because of the old woman left to you, always just, but not now. Neither do I reproach you, Chuza, although I ought to, because in you, more than in all those who want me to be king in good faith, is your ego alive. Yes, you want me to be king. There is no deceit in what you say. You have come not to catch me out, to denounce me to the Sanhedrin, to the king, to Rome, but rather than out of love. You think that everything is love, but it is not so. Rather than out of love, you are acting to avenge yourself for the offenses given to you by the court. I am your guest. I should not mention the truth concerning your feelings, but I am the truth in everything, and I am speaking for your own good. And the same applies to you, Joachim of Bosra, and to you, scribe John, and to you, to you, to you. And he points at this one and that one without resentment, but with sadness. And he continues, I do not reproach you, because I know that you do not want this spontaneously. It is deceit. It is the enemy who is working in you, and you are, without being aware of it, entirely dominated by him. Also of your love, O Timaeus, O Manaen, O Joachim, and you all who really love me, also of your veneration, you who feel that I am the perfect rabbi, also of all that, he, the cursed one, makes use to harm people and to harm me. But I say to you, and to those who do not share your feelings, and with aims which sink lower and lower to the extent of becoming treason and crime, would like me to agree to become king, I say no. My kingdom is not of this world. Come to me that I may establish my kingdom in you, and nothing else. And now let me go. No, Lord. We are quite determined. We have already made our wealth available. We have prepared plans and decided to get out of this uncertainty which is upsetting Israel, and of which other people are taking advantage to harm Israel. Snares are being laid for you. That is true. You have enemies in the very temple. I, an elder, do not deny it. But there is means to put an end to that, your unction, and we are willing to do that. It is not the first time that in Israel a man is proclaimed king thus, to put an end to national calamities and contentions. There is here who can do that in the name of God. Let us do so, say one of the priests. No, it is not lawful. You do not have such authority. The high priest is the first to want that. Contrary to appearances, he can no longer allow the present situation of Roman rule and royal scandal. Do not lie, priest. Blasphemy is twice impure on your lips. Perhaps you do not know, and you are deceived. But in the temple they do not want that. Do you consider our assertion to be a false one? Yes, I do. If not all of you, of many among you. Do not lie. I am the light, and I enlighten hearts. You can believe us, shout the Herodians. We do not like Herod Antipas, or anybody else. No, you love no one but yourselves, that is true, and you cannot love me. I would be used as a lever to overthrow the throne, and thus open for you the way to greater power, and to let you oppress the people more sorely. A deceit for me, for the people, and for yourselves. Rome would crush everybody after your crushing. Lord, among the colonies of the diaspora there are many ready to rise. Our wealth will support them, say the proselytes. And mine, and the full support of Haran and Trachonitis, shouts the man from Bosra. I know what I am saying. Our mountains can keep an army free from snares, and then launch it like a flock of eagles at your service. Perea as well, and Gaulonitis. And the valley of Gash is with you. And with you are the shores of the salt sea, with the nomads who believe that we are gods. If you agree to join us, shouts the Essene. And he continues with a long-winded harangue, typical of hot-headed people. But his words are lost in the uproar. The mountaineers of Judea also belong to the race of strong kings, and those of high Galilee are heroes of the same temperament as Deborah. Also women, even children are heroes. And do you think we are too few? We form numerous troops. All the population is with you. You are the king of the stock of David, the Messiah. This is the cry on the lips of wise and of ignorant people, because it is the cry of their hearts. Your miracles and your words, the signs. The confusion is such that I cannot follow what they say. Jesus, like a solid rock in a windstorm, does not move. He does not even react. He is impassive, and the confusion of prayers, impositions, reasons goes on. You are disappointing us. Why do you want our ruin? Do you want to do it by yourself? You cannot. Mattathias Maccabee did not refuse the help of the Hasidians, and Judas freed Israel with their assistance. Accept. Now and again they all shout this word together.